left on South 13th Street. My house, the old house, should not be far down here. Here the next block, is that? Ah, yeah, there it is. Big old white house over there, the big white frame house. God, I love that house.
In 1933, when he was 8 years old, Johnny Carson moved with his parents from a small rural town in southwestern Iowa to this unassuming 1,500 square foot home in northeast Nebraska. The community of Norfolk would prove to be an ideal incubator for a boy whose talent as an entertaining magician would one day rise to national prominence and be anointed the king of late-night television. And it's here in Norfolk where Johnny Carson's life story is on permanent exhibit. It all happened by chance when the director of the Elkhorn Valley Museum reached out to the famous comedian a few years after he retired as host of The Tonight Show.
She just expected maybe one or two things or none at all. And then, after it was maybe 3 months, so then there comes the thought of, well, it's not going to happen.
And then the phone rang.
He called and said that he would love to visit the museum and he would gladly bring us handfuls of artifacts from some of his Burbank offices. And so he ended up visiting in 2001 and brought with him the first major donation of artifacts from the exhibit.
Friends at Kung Fu U will teach you how to make every part of your body a deadly weapon.
Every part?
That's right. We'll teach you how to terrorize an entire community with your feet. And I don't mean by not changing your socks.
I decided to trace my family tree.
That's interesting. Did you go to a genealogist?
No, I don't like putting my feet up in them stirrups. What would I go to? Wow! They're cold. It's dehumanizing.
Hunters are self-reliant. Believe me, when you're walking through a forest, you have to look out for number 1 and number 2.
So we received some of the mugs that they would have used on set. We also received his high school yearbook, some of his items from his time at UNL. We also received his Rolodex from his Burbank office as well, and then just a handful of smaller items. And I guess the biggest part of that would have been his 6 Emmys, some of his more notable awards as well.
Johnny Carson. One of America's greatest television personalities, Johnny Carson left the Nebraska plains to preside over late-night TV for almost 30 years. With a quick wit and a sure golf swing, Johnny's good-natured humor kept the pulse of the nation and assured us that even in the most difficult times, it was still okay to laugh. The United States honors Johnny Carson, who personifies the heart and humor of America.
Later the same year, the Johnny Carson Gallery opened, and just recently, it underwent a major renovation that has a slightly modified focus.
The past exhibit focused solely on his career and left out a lot of information about his general personality, his relationships, other people who were important to him. So this one really, really highlights Johnny as a person and focuses on some areas of his life that while he was living, he was very private about.
That's my mother and father.
Right, please stand up and take a little bow.
For a man who appeared affable on national television, he had a distant relationship with his own mother, though it's said that she too had a great sense of humor. But even at the zenith of his career, Ruth Carson was sparing of affection and approval toward her son. After her death in 1985, a box containing a lifetime collection of clippings about her famous son was found in her closet, which came as a surprise to Johnny.
It took a lot for people to be welcomed into his closer circle. And even then, he was very quick to let people go if he felt that they had wronged him, even in the smallest of ways. That close circle of Johnny were able to see things differently. And so we have shared some of that information here.
Among the people Johnny considered special was his favorite teacher, Fay Gordon, who he gifted a Rolex watch.
I know that he returned every once in a while to visit old friends or family members or Fay Gordon.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Fay Gordon was actually one of Johnny's high school teachers for penmanship. We actually see a small clip of her re-teaching Johnny and a couple of his classmates in his 1982 special, I believe it was, Johnny Goes Home.
We do ovals for roundness of letters and for the connecting stroke out of that.
My ovals are better.
All right.
We have a handful of other items that we do keep in a preservation area. Maybe the most interesting would be his personal makeup kit. It was kept exactly as Johnny left it, and so it's sort of a way for us to look into, one, like how his mind worked and how he organized things that he found or felt were important or essentials to have backstage. I mean, it even still has one of his deodorant sticks in a drawer. And so it's just a way, I think, to feel a little bit more connected with him as a person.
Johnny was raised with two siblings, an older sister, Catherine, and a younger brother, Richard. And Johnny wasn't the only Carson family member with a successful television career. For more than 35 years, Dick Carson directed national shows like Merv Griffin and The Wheel of Fortune. But during the 1960s, Dick Carson was the television director for The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. The brothers were close throughout Johnny's lifetime. But it's another Carson relative who now checks in on the Elkhorn Valley Museum to lend a helping hand whenever he can.
We have had a couple of visits with Johnny's nephew, Jeff Sotzing. He's been our liaison between the Johnny Carson Foundation, and he is head of Carson Entertainment. He checks in on us every couple of months just to make sure that we're doing okay and what he can do to help.
Though he rose to great fame and held court with millions of Americans on late-night television, Norfolk is what grounded Johnny. The memories of being a regular kid, kicking around town, and dreaming of things to come.
Down the road here, a few miles, is the town of Norfolk, Nebraska, where I grew up. The Indians, the Sioux, the Ogallala, and the Pawnee, who roamed this Great Plains state years ago, called Nebraska Flatwater. Most of us know it as the Cornhusker State. I simply call it home.